What's your top three?
Cookies, cake.
Cookies are number one in your dessert.
I love cookies.
Bro,
I love cookies.
All right, we're back. Yeah, big week for, I mean, you were joking at the kickoff here that we were just doing this yesterday. And thank you to everybody who came and hung out with us for the hour and a bit. I love seeing those numbers go up. So it's just a wonderful way to like bring people or to introduce people to the people that we've got to know over the last 3 months. And hopefully they'll be seeing a lot more of their products in the near future, but we can hold off on diving too much into demo day. I feel like this is like a day for me. Friday just feels like a deep breathe out. I think for any SC07 teams that are watching us today, I'm sure you're feeling something similar. And then also thinking about next week as we get to kind of lean into the next big undertaking that we have for us. So feeling good about that. Anything else we should say before we dive in and talk with Karan?
We should probably just dive in.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Come on up.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
Am I pronouncing your name wrong? Tell me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Okay, good. That's like Fran. All right, brother. Well, I mean, we had a chance to chat, I guess, last week, and you were saying, hey, we're going to be pushing this out live next week, and you did it. You pushed it out live this week. So why don't you introduce yourself, introduce what Wildcard is, and then we can dive in.
Sure. So I've been a founder for the last 5 to 6 years. Started with Web2, B2B SaaS, document digitized on-camera captured images, walked my way into Web3 with 0x people, and now finally doing Wildcard. Yeah, so I'm a dev/founder.
And give us the Wildcard pitch then. What are you building?
Sure. So we are building the attention economy on top of... I'll start with the story, actually. The story is like, I got the Degen airdrop one, and then after that, I was looking to Pacman talk about Blast. And the idea that hit me was like, if we can create new economic engine on top of existing things, which is better, it unlocks great value. So I looked at what are the things that are working right now or worked in the past, FinTech, Degen, and how you can do things right with it. So yeah, that's basically Wildcard that you can buy into any creator. You can buy and sell them. And by holding their tickets, as we call them, which is equivalent of keys on FinTech, you get rev share of tips that they're receiving on a social platform. So it's built on top of Firecaster social graph.
Nice. So I think in my mind, like the big unlock or innovation here is just like how well you package all of this together. Like it has a lot of the pieces that, we've seen kind of iterated on tirelessly across the ecosystem, right? You have tipping, you have like buying, keys. I think you call them tickets, but buying keys to people. You have kind of a point system. So it's like a lot of the stuff we see all the time. But I think the way that you've packaged it together actually just makes it feel pretty novel, or at least like makes it makes it feel fresh, and makes me actually want to play the game and kind of spend time in there. So I'm curious, like how much of that was the insight? Was it just like if we just packaged it better way, like we get?
Yeah, so there were a couple of things I wanted to unlock. One of them was, right, I see a problem that after a while, all these cards or games become very expensive and the barrier to entry is high. But what we have done is like new, which has not been done till now, is fractional tickets or fractional keys. You can buy with $20 even at $10 million market caps. So the way I see it is like, I want to see it as a one-to-one correlation between the social capital of the person and the thing that you are trading here right now. And they should not have to do some extra work like in a private group chat to maintain it. It is just like their social capital value is accruing them tips, and you get a share of that in perpetuity. So both of those things.
Got it. Cool. And then, I guess like how are you thinking about the competitive landscape here? Like there are a ton of people kind of serving this, I guess, desire to speculate on people's social capital.
Yes.
I don't know if you can describe it, but we have FriendTech, we have Alpha Friends, we have DJ, Fantasy Top is even kind of circling around a similar idea. So how do you think about differentiating through Wildcard, or how do you just make sense of that?
I think each and every one of those, like in half of the places, I think the first differentiator is the barrier to entry. Like if you go now, if a Vitalik or a Dan Romero ticket is $200, you need to at least shell out that amount of money So the participation rate after a while just goes down. With FriendTech and Alpha Friends and all these places, there is an expectation that the person would do something extra. And the third and the most important thing that we are trying to do is become a full-fledged native client that supports, So I think Warpcast is going into a direction that it wants to onboard the masses, and that is great. We want to focus on a niche, which are crypto natives. They like things which are more woke or wild, hence Wildcard. Things like, GIFs, or someone asked me for a meme key, like just a keyboard to search GIFs and post it, and we added it in a day. So things like that, and native tipping, native buying, selling, speculation, integrating Pearl natively, and all those things, or tipping in multiple currencies is something where we see that this can become a client where, people who are crypto native it's built custom for that. And that is a need that is not getting served anywhere else.
Yeah, interesting. So the category you'd put it in is more like social plus trading rather than so the design here is ultimately on being a client or a social network, and
it's a podcasting client. Okay. Yeah, you can cast here, you can put memes and do anything, and we're trying to work on different algorithms or feeds. So our niche would be crypto natives, so you might also see transactions in there or their portfolio and all those things coming there.
Got it. I think this is interesting, right? Because one of the big challenges I think you correctly identified, we sort of seen this with Fantasy Top and with FriendTech, is that there's sort of like this initial excitement around the game. People figure out how to go play that game, and then there's sort of a waning in that excitement. And it seems to be like the ability to go and build multiple games or continue to build games to serve is what will ultimately serve that audience, right? Like you want a new speculative game that can be fun and that I'm going to go win at. Yeah. And so, I think we've been thinking that often as thinking about that from a brand perspective, right? Where we think of a brand being able to go capture to launch something that's fun and interesting. Maybe it's only fun and interesting for a couple months, but the value and the trust and the belief is sort of embedded in that brand, and they can go and do it again. And maybe that becomes a formal product, or maybe that's just a thing that kind of exists. But I think this, in that bucket of like, where do you store the value that you're creating from ephemeral apps? I think I would sort of put like brand, client, social space, app, and then maybe network, chain, L3, whatever, and in those buckets. Yes. It sounds like that's how you see the world as well. Yeah,
for sure.
So it's about saying, okay, how do we go and consistently? So all the current games that you have sort of existing within Wildcard are ones that maybe some will persist, but others may be swapped out or iterated or added to.
Yes.
Interesting.
I think like whatever is going popular in Warpcast in memes or frames or actions, I think doing them natively makes sense, and unlocking more things natively would just make sense, because it's a much better experience than using third-party apps or frames.
Where do you see the growth in that core crypto enthusiast community coming from? Because it feels like one of the challenges we have right now is that it doesn't feel like that body of users is actually growing significantly right now. This is just my feeling. I don't have data on it, but
I would say that at least like whichever dev I have encountered who's into crypto, or people that I know who have gotten into crypto, after a point they start speculating and they start getting into meme coins, degens. I think the barrier is low. If you're looking at people who have been there, they're not converting to this side of the coin, that's fine. But I think the new generation that are coming in, I have met like 15 years old, 16-year-olds who trade meme coins, do all that shit. And they want to do that with a few cents or dollars. So
right.
I'm bullish that this thing would grow, base would grow, Firecaster would grow. So those are assumptions.
The inevitability is programmed in demographics. It's all about demographics.
Yes.
Karan, I'm curious, you guys launched earlier this week, right? On Monday or Tuesday or something? Like kind of started.
So one Saturday we just
Saturday. Just put it out. Put it out. I love it. I'm curious. So you seem to have a pretty meaningful amount of usage in the product so far. I'm curious what's like working well, and what are you seeing not work as well as you maybe expected or hoped?
Yeah. I think it's working more than I expected. Certainly, I didn't expect this much people to use it. People are buying tickets. People are tipping each other a lot. One thing we were facing was like bots and farming. We've taken care of that. I think right now the biggest challenge is, we just cooked something up in like last set. So it's like ideation from the current product in last 7 weeks. And it's like a lot of things that need to be built and to be fixed to be able to serve people so that, they don't have to think about going back to another client back and forth. And they're like, hey, this is breaking that. I want upload images. I want drafts and all those things. So there's like lots of things breaking and lots of feature requests coming in, and we're just like going after them one by one.
Cool. And people don't need an invite code to join right now, right? Anybody can go with Farcaster.
They do need an invite code. We opened it up for skin in the game devs and Wildcard channel members who were at the point. But you can find plenty of invite codes lying around in the channel. One invite code using any of the invite code, any number of people can join.
Okay. Can we drop an invite code? Do you have one?
Yeah. I got some too, so hit me up.
Yeah.
Let's drop a couple in the chat here for people who are live with us. Nice. Okay. So what is, if we sort of think about the next 2 or 3 months, we stop talking today, and in 3 months we come back and we get to hear the update. What do you hope to have sort of achieved or pushed forward?
I think it's like complete client functionality, and then you also have games on top of it natively integrated, and you have multiple currencies on which people are tipping, and this becomes the one-to-one way to store or correlate social capital value with financialized representation. So that's my hope. Like if you want to long or short someone, hearing the news about them that day, you come here and you do it.
It's my least compelling part of your pitch, as far as I'm concerned. I find that very it sounds far cooler than I think it actually is in practice. But I do love the idea of, to me, the thing that stands out the most is the sort of recognition that so many that there is this core user who's looking to play new and interesting games.
Yes.
And that if you can create a structure that makes that compelling and fun and valuable longer term, then I think you have a big thing. But I think like the social to me, it's like the one-to-one representation of social and financial capital is one that the vast majority of sane human beings would push back against very, very hard. And the people who don't, or maybe not the people you really want to be hanging around on the internet. That's my take, though. But
I think if you also look at it in another way, I'll reform it, not for pure speculation. The other thing that it solves is basically discovery. So let's say you're buying, because you think that you're early and you know someone and it's a friend, you go and buy their tickets early. And that way becomes a way of discovering good people. I think one of the other problems that I see with the Farcaster ecosystem is like discovery is very hard for new genuine people who are joining the network. And in a way, tips and shares solve that, because we can know who are good representation people and who they are putting their money early into.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love the threads you're pulling on. We should connect you with Unofficial from.
Yeah,
you should chat with Unofficial from our last batch. They're doing some interesting things with an interest graph. So if you're not connected, I'll make that happen afterwards. Anyways, appreciate you hanging out with us today and sharing the vision. It's only been out for a week, not even a week. And it sounds like you guys are iterating on it quite quickly. So we got an invite code in the chat here at live.seedclub.xyz. Appreciate that. And wish you great success as you continue to iterate. And I got to go buy some tickets.
Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, man.
Thanks for hanging.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a big idea in there around this ephemeral speculation.
Agreed.
Demand. I think is interesting. I'm just
like persistent. The app's installed. You can go there to play like weird emerging social.
I mean, I think they have to be really good, weird, emerging social speculation games. I feel
especially if you're targeting the dopamine seeking kind of crypto native audience that has endless emerging things to go play with. I think you just have to be some like trusted place to go.
It's interesting though, because like what we do see kind of coming out of the Telegram ecosystem is like a big push into super casual games that seem to be
right,
more aimed at maybe that's like the airdrop farmer.
I think it
category, right? Yeah,
I think it's just like fancier points farming, or like a fancier point system is like so hamster combat is like a more fun kind of addictive version of that.
But it seems like Wildcard's trying to position in maybe more like the trader than the airdrop hunter, though I'm sure there's a lot of overlap there. Interesting.
Yeah, it's cool. Definitely got my mind spinning. Just like we've talked about the value of like integrated apps, right? So many people are kind of going narrow and modular, and I think the killer things are just going to package those together in a compelling way for a specific type of person. And I think just the second I use this, it's like if I just seen a new tipping token show up on Farcaster, I would have just completely ignored it. It's like right.
Yeah.
But this being integrated into this like full experience just made me like I was down to go play this game, or at least like take it for a good spin.
Yeah, I mean, I think we see that whether there's sort of established apps that are trying to build more full stack and own the entire experience, or on the consumer side, I think it's the packaging into a delightful experience is kind of the era that we're in right now.
It's also just a nice change to see someone come out with a pretty well built, fully fledged product versus it's like new crypto product launch. Like I'm ready for the shittiest experience I've ever used in my life. And this is good. They did a good job here.
Yeah, cool,
nice. So let's move on to SC07 reflection. So, really just woke up this morning, just like wanted to still like feel like I hadn't entirely come down from yesterday. Brain was like struggling to like move forward, I guess, or like move beyond it. So I figured just like creating some space to just look back on the last 3 months, look back at demo day, and just kind of like reflect what happened. Because I think like week to week, you just get so in the flow of the cohort and, into the weeds with the teams. And I think this is like the first time really that I think we've probably both stepped back and been like, oh shit, like that was great. So I don't know, obviously, so there's a bunch of ways we can obviously go with this, but maybe just like initially checking in on what kind of big takeaways are top of mind from that like week to week kind of grind that we've been on with these teams.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing yesterday to see how many people came out. The chat was off, thousands of people checked it out on Twitter and were live with us. And I think like it was interesting to me to think about where we were when we were doing team selection and like what's happened in this 3 months since. And I would just say like meme coin explosion being like the thing that was just underway. And I think we had a couple really great conversations around that. And then all of a sudden just kind of took over. And demo day kind of felt like it landed on a day where meme coin interest was actually probably at a low over the last little while. And so I think there's sort of like, an interesting thought about how little representation of that sort of meta was in our current batch. And also how I think useful it was to see people pushing into new and interesting directions. Like there are clearly projects that are through that our batch there that have token plans and are kind of leaning into what we would call scene coins. But I think like it is just really interesting to see. It's easy to sort of, as you're in the day to day, to see just how much is changing on a week to week or month to month perspective, and how quickly interest and hype and everything kind of shifts and flows. I think we probably had 2 or 3 new social fi apps launch and kind of die out in the period of 3 months. And so, I think when we go back to what are kind of the core things we value when we're looking for teams to work with, I think it just comes down to choosing incredible human beings that have really big visions, and then having a deep sense of trust in their ability to sort of to navigate towards value in those opportunities. And so I think, I think there's, the progress those teams have made in that over the last 3 months has been huge. They got a ton of work to do still. They're still very, very early in many cases. But I think I'm excited to see that we have, 9 teams that are really pulling in unique directions that I think enough people are like, oh, that is cool. There's something there. And then there's enough people who are like, oh, that'll never happen. And I feel like that's like the perfect mix of where you want to be if you're trying to build something new.
Yeah, totally. I think those are pretty similar to my maybe 2 big reflections. One is just, and honestly didn't realize this till I wrote that tweet yesterday, but just how many like emerging category, like different categories that these teams are running at, and how much, I guess, just like opportunity space there is actually out there beyond the kind of just like trading games and meme coins that crypto Twitter largely focuses on, like, myself included. So I think like, each of these teams are just running at, these like huge categories that are different than what a lot of people are talking about. And then I think the second one is just seeing the like kind of intentional, methodical community building and bringing products to market that a lot of these teams took counter to a lot of what we see these like breakout kind of highly speculative products doing. Like, Ponder, they've just been kind of quietly in market for 6 months, grown their kind of user base to 40,000 people, learned a ton, like just this very methodical approach, right? Bracket game. Like they just know how early they are and their kind of mission and progress towards it. And, are iterating the product and tightening it up alongside the usage of like 300 kind of very passionate users who are exactly who they want to be building for and learning from. So I think just you can obviously in some cases you need just like instant kind of social liquidity or financial liquidity, and going from 0 to 1 very, very, very quickly needs to happen and makes a lot of sense. But I think, a lot of the things that these teams are building, you can take a more kind of slow, intentional, thoughtful, kind of like community building approach that I think is going to prove to be more sustainable and long lasting. We'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think there are many cases where like, there's going to be a time to, turn on the gas too. And I think there are cases where we'd have probably like to see the gas turned on a little more, but there are many ways to build stuff.
I mean, I think if the core thesis is find great people, I think like the balance is always how do you, as human beings who have strong opinions, I will identify myself as one of those. I think you're in that bucket as well. I think it creates a fun dynamic. I mean, fun maybe is my definition of it, of sort of like poking and prodding, but also, ultimately, this is my experience in Seed Club as well. Like there's a lot of really smart, talented, experienced people that you get to bring around you if you're lucky in building in the space. And they have a lot of really great ideas, but they're often not right for what you're building. And so as a founder, being able to tap into that deeper sense of vision that you have and make decisions based on that, I think is essential. I have no doubt these teams are going to get to really interesting places. They may look like the world that we envision. They may not, but deep confidence in that.
Yeah, I think maybe the other big thing was just comparing this cohort to the previous cohort, which, also very focused on consumer crypto, but I was like such a slog at times with just the bear market, no real energy anywhere. Tooling was still, pretty nascent. Like the friend tech moment didn't happen until August, which wasn't that long ago, but was like mid or early days of that cohort. And like prior to that, like consumer crypto just wasn't even a thing that people were talking about or excited by. So just seeing, I don't know, going through this during kind of this like uptick in excitement, the catching on of the consumer crypto narratives, people realizing that this is probably going to be a consumer, application cycle, or that's largely where a lot of the energy is going to go, and just how much easier it is to like kind of like maintain energy week to week when you're kind of building within there's always
there's a bit of a wave that you get to surf rather than trying to make the wave and surf it at the same time. I mean, I think that's again, a unique thing about building in this space is that cycles and volatility are real, and timing matters a lot, and everybody's trying to figure out that game. So
Yeah.
I think like the answer is just one foot in front of the other and continue to build and
totally
be well positioned for when attention comes back, which I think a ton of, we're seeing a lot of success from the SC06 teams that have just been consistently heads down building, bunch of new rounds getting done. Yeah. Wonderful to see. Yeah.
Yeah. I love like interface is the example. It's like week to week, we're like where's the growth coming from? Where's new users coming from? And then suddenly market picks up and it's like, oh, there they are.
There's
and just like being like, they were incredibly well positioned for it when it came, but yeah. Peace. I think you're going to mint your opening music from yesterday, right?
Yeah, actually we are live now.
Oh, nice.
And nice. It's broken our site design, but it's pinned at the top of the chat. So you can find it there.
That was a highlight. I spent the entirety of after the show yesterday listening to the entirety of that outro, which I'd already listened to as the entirety of an intro. So
yeah, we're so lucky to just be able to be like, Peace, we don't think having a DJ is the vibe. Can you just like throw something together? And then this being the thing that he just shows up with on demo day.
Yeah, it was a fun one to put together because I don't know, I spend a lot of time looking at old crap, basically. So I put together a list of all the stuff because these are basically, it's just like tunes I like, one I made, and then a bunch of videos from archive.org. And all of them will lead you down a rabbit hole. It might be dangerous, but there's loads of cool stuff. And yeah, definitely recommend banging some of these into your search engine and see what comes up.
Sense of danger and archived. I love it.
There was one this one, these guys, Viron Education, your gateway to mystical wisdom and spiritual enlightenment. Like they have a bunch of videos up on archive.org and it's like, this was published in 2023 and it's definitely just an art project, but yeah, they're looking for a profound journey of self-discovery and spiritual transformation. So it's like, if you don't know that they're kidding, this is probably actually dangerous shit. I really don't know what they're about.
Can you go back to that and just tell me what that actual character is? Like, what is that character?
Just like an amazing little dude. Maybe it's a wizard. Like it's a wizard's cat for sure.
Those mouth animations are incredible.
Yeah. Something strange is happening here. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So you dove deep and came up with. So I think we'll make sure we tweet that out because I think the links in our chat are not super useful here. But you can go mint the intro, outro here, the demo day vibes. I'm going to go mint like 99 of them because it was awesome.
Yeah. Jess, maybe the last thing here, and I don't know how much we want to talk about, but what's next for...
Oh yeah, it's like everybody's DM stuff. So what's next? Yeah, I think I think we still see such a huge opportunity to be like really absurdly early supporters of great people that are trying to go do big things. And I think that the space in the consumer market is far bigger than most people even realize yet. And so I think our big focus over the next little while is going to be putting ourselves into a position where we can do, maybe a higher volume or at least more frequent backing of consumer crypto founders. So I think it's going to, there's some structural stuff we're going to go change on that, but really my excitement is that if somebody's building something interesting, regardless of when they go do it, that Seed Club can be a partner for them at the earliest stages. So I don't know what our next accelerator looks like. Clearly that's a big part of what we do, and we're going to continue to do that, but we're also looking to be in a position to be more bold backers of great builders, even outside of that cycle that we currently run. We're also, I think our big objectives for this year and definitely for the first half of this year were to continue to iterate on our accelerator, to really lean deeper into the media opportunity that we see here. So you've seen a little bit of that with the first podcast we launched from our network called Liquid Culture with Ben Roy and Nat, which is being received super well. Love to see it. obviously the show as well, but we have a whole bunch more planned there. And we have some fun. I continue to bring this point up, but there was, I think, Wake, and after he was on the show a couple of months ago, went into our Farcaster channel and was like, all right, I'm officially Seed Club pilled. And then the first response to that was, how do I take the pill? And I'm like, fuck, we don't have an easy way for you to take that pill. And so I would say that is probably the biggest focus we have in the next couple of months, is to really make it clear as to how you can go take the pill and become, a deeper part of Seed Club, which has been the core idea from day one. And we got some fun stuff planned there. I don't exactly know where it lands, but I'm pretty excited about it. So a whole lot more of the same, but more and more of it, I think.
Yeah, I love it. So TLDR, if you're an enthusiast or just like what we're doing here, stay close. There's more coming. And if you're a founder building consumer crypto projects and you like how we see the world and show up, don't wait till you hear an accelerator announcement. We're going to be open for business as quickly as possible. So reach out.
Come talk to us. We have monies. We want to give you monies.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else here? Or should we move on to?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the day after is not the right time for me to reflect on all this sort of stuff. We got to let me go play a couple rounds of golf this week.
It just felt like it felt like the easy thing to talk about. That's right.
Yeah, I get it. I love it. Well, I'm sure my answers might change a little bit next week.
Yeah.
I know. I think, like, Timmy, I just constantly tap into this deep sense of gratitude for the ability to do this work that we get to do. Like, we literally spend our days talking to incredible human beings and like envisioning a world with them, and then trying to figure out how we go get there. And I don't think this is probably what I'm built to go, the thing I'm built to do. And somehow we figured out how to go do it. And then we have thousands of people that show up and get to support these teams as well. So it feels very much, deep gratitude. And also I just see like a much larger scale of impact that we can have here in the coming year. And I'm excited to lean into that.
Totally. All right, let's jump to time.fun. Pete, maybe leave that. I'll introduce it, but maybe leave that Nicholas. So time.fun, I guess, is the latest like social fi whatever app that's emerging, kind of a remix of a lot of things we've seen with kind of a subtle flavor change. So basically what time.fun is they allow users to buy and sell minutes of people's time, Twitter accounts time on a bonding curve that you can then exercise for one-to-one meetings, texts, or asynchronous questions. I think so it's on a bonding curve. I think when you actually if you actually redeem your minutes for like a video call or something, that gets sold back into the bonding curve, and then the money goes to the creator. So kind of, I don't know, pretty interesting. There's a big existing Web 2 business called, I think, Intros, that seems to be doing pretty well. A lot of the kind of big name kind of tech, Web 2 tech people are onboarded on there. And I think just like adding kind of a liquid market on top of it is an interesting innovation. I also think it has like a lot of the friend tech flavors you actually get if you're holding any amount of minutes from someone. You get access to a gated Telegram chat with them as well. So it kind of has the friend tech flavor, but the price is actually backed by access to people's time. So it's kind of it's a cool one to think about. I've clicked around a bit. Nikita Beer, who I think uses Intro a lot. Anytime anyone asks him a question on Twitter, he just tells them to go there and buy time, and then he'll talk to them. So cool to see him
for a 20-minute conversation sort of thing.
Cool to see him come on here, and his time actually pretty quickly, the price discovery kind of landed pretty similarly to what he priced his time at on Intro. So that was kind of cool to see, but I don't know. It's new. I think it's done a couple $1 million in volume. Seems like there's much more kind of speculative activity than actual using for people's time. I don't know what the optimal kind of balance between those two things are, but I don't know, another thing to kind of click around with.
I mean, this is fun, right? Because in 2020 we had some of the early personal token experiments were around this idea.
Right.
I think Ruben Bramanathan did one for sort of legal advice called Counsel. I think Peter Pan did one. I think Amin did one.
What was that one? What's Earn? Was that similar? From 3-4 years ago? I just remember it from kind of early days. I was getting into crypto and
Coinbase, earn.com, that Coinbase.
I think it's earn. Maybe.
Yeah, that was just Balaji's startup.
Balaji, but it was a similar idea, right?
No, you just pay. I think you had to somebody had to pay for your response, basically. So I guess it's in the scenario. I think this idea of like speculating on the pricing time based on demand, I think is kind of interesting. I don't know. I file this one into like a bucket of real cool experiment. Love seeing like they've packaged it up well. Go to market seems to be top notch, and also like I think it only works if this becomes like not only works. I think the one way it works is this becomes like the place where people actually want to speculate on people, right? So I would put this in the same bucket as what Karan was talking about earlier, right? Where you kind of want to have a liquid price for people, and people can buy and sell, and you can short and long. I'm not sure that's a compelling thing for most people, and especially for most professional people. I mean, it works for guys like Nikita who have like a very high barrier to entry to come in and talk to him, and it's kind of a fun game to play. My guess is intros is still the primary place that he sends people to. For anybody else who's out running like project based work, or for like the actual work of getting specific outcomes done, I think like there's just no reason not to price that on a project and based on value that you're creating there. So I think this needs to be like a game in and of itself that people want to go and play. And
there's something weird about redeeming being like this negative event for the like bonding curve price too, but it being like the core value prop of the platform.
Right. Cause you sort of sell into it rather than,
it's like you as a speculator would want to buy time and people that no one wants to talk to, right?
Well, that's probably who's top here too, really, right? Like, I mean, I think
Ansem's top.
Okay.
Or like someone that's like never going to actually open up any time slots or something. I don't know. It's a weird.
I would love to know if people have. I mean, we should go and actually book a bunch and see if we can get like 10 minutes with these guys. Like, we should just go in and do that. I was thinking, who do we want to know from here? Like, let's go talk to.
I would go talk to Nikita for sure.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's just see what it's like. See how hard it is to actually get. That'd be fun. I was thinking, I saw this just before demo day, and I was like, oh man, I wonder if we could buy somebody's time to come in and say hello on demo day. It's too short.
It's so funny.
Let's call them into demo day.
I just want 2 minutes from everybody and just do like 2 minutes in a row and ask them.
It's like the new cameo.
Phone a friend.
I think that's what intros is basically. It's cameo for consultants.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Actually, Peace, what was Nicholas talking about there?
What was Nicholas talking about? He says, yeah, fire. Love this contentious take.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And in fact, I think that the more they lean into that, the more successful it'll probably be. But I feel like it is useful to have this sort of external point of reference that is not purely like the issue in my mind with like DSO and the pure personal tokens is that you have like one's identity directly priced and volatile, and it just like feels like shit. And you're not going to want to go through that. Using time as sort of the sort of asset there feels like a sense of separation, the same way that like I think it was smart that Iggy Azalea did Mother token rather than the Iggy token. Right? There's like a meaningful separation there. I know.
It's true. Like when these meme coins unwind, like there's often just nothing you can do. Oh, Siri, great.
Okay, Siri, buy meme coins.
Yeah, there's often nothing you can do, but yeah, to your point, if it's actually backed by time, at some point, people who do want to spend time with you are gonna actually book it, and like there's some price stability there. But all right, cool. Let's jump to.
This is such a random, like what
it's
a
so
random.
It's so random. I was like, yeah, let's go. Because I think
this is because this is a link I sent. Yeah, okay.
You did send me this. We talked about it. Yeah. I think also I've been like intentionally like critical of like new DeFi protocols and tokens. You really just like hammer home how much I believe that like the biggest token networks of the future are going to be kind of like social first or like culturally kind of motivated and focused. But also I think it was, there's a bunch of posts like this, like some rumblings this week, really just like reminding me how, important and valuable these like core DeFi projects are. They haven't kind of had a narrative recently. They largely haven't bounced back like some of the other assets have, but they're quietly generating, all-time highs in revenue across the board, regulatory tailwinds are coming. So just starting to see a bunch of people like, asking the question of like, when are these DeFi tokens going to come back? Like when are they just getting too cheap? So I think just kind of like resurfacing that in my mind, I found useful. And then we also had a conversation where I think I said something to you like, yeah, these are just going to trade like equity going forward, like some, multiple on revenue. And you're like, yeah, but, globally accessible like equity with global liquidity. And I was like, oh yeah, true. So like, what is that? And then just started thinking about what that like truly means, or like what that would mean for like the traditional like equities market if there was true global liquidity and accessibility. And it's just kind of an interesting line of thinking. So
yeah, I mean, I think the core point of criticism that you've been on is not that there's a value in these in this infrastructure. Clearly, there's immense value in infrastructure. It's how those tokens have been launched have been preferential to venture capital and founders and not to retail buyers, and therefore you're seeing price down and to the right. And this is the low float, high FDV narratives that we've been on about for forever. And I think that along with there's just seems to be more and more liquidity in that category, right? More and more DeFi tools launching, I think, have led to other things being more interesting this time around. But I think there's like these two ways crypto becomes super valuable, or maybe two big categories. I think one is like the computer, which you hear Chris Dixon on about all the time. These are utility tokens. This is the version of Uber in the future where you get to earn and use tokens and own part of the network. And I mean, compelling future that I'm very excited about, and yet very limited by sort of the regulatory realities that exist here today. Specifically, like these DeFi protocols not being able to pay out dividends or to effectively buy and burn, or other ways of sort of absolutely representing the value that's actually coming through, or capturing some of the values coming through their networks. And so you kind of have these DeFi protocols that are out there earning fees, and yet not being able to kind of ultimately close the loop in a way that would make these things cash flowing networks. And so I think there's a good reason to believe that there's a ton of growth in these primitives and the core products that are there. And, we're more, I think generally the sentiment on regulation has improved in the recent months. And so I guess there's just like a lot of reasons why we should probably be paying attention to some of those things, and likely like early movers there, they continue to be sort of dominant, even though there's a bunch of other iterations that have come out. So I think that's interesting. And then the other big bucket is sort of like, we just call it attention, right? Like, and I think likely both of these things come together, right? Right now they feel like very separate, and it's mostly because of the regulatory challenges that exist. But I think like the most compelling DeFi products are going to be ones that have great brands and are sort of a deep sense of ownership over the product. And the most compelling attention assets are ones that will figure out mechanisms that actually drive revenues. And I think the question that many people have is like, okay, well, if we move out surely from this narrative and speculation stage and into one where revenues, cash flow is actually being generated, does that actually decrease the value of these networks if they're worth 10, 20, 50, $15 billion and they're making a couple $1 million a year? The analysis on that is maybe saying, well, you're slightly over paying for that revenue. And so the question is like, well, what is the multiple that comes on top of that from pure speculative value, from global access to liquidity, et cetera? So I think it's interesting. I think if we have a long-term view of where crypto goes, I think it's important for us to try to like see the narratives as they are today and figure out how they weave together in the future, because very likely that's what will happen.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, let's jump over to Ton. Yeah, so I don't know, just Ton continues to be one of the biggest narratives of the day. I think it's
important to let that land, right? Because I think this has been in the last 6 weeks, 2 months, it went from the people kind of experimenting, or it's being conversations people having, to being like, oh shit, Ton is actually the place where, it's Ton's the next Solana. Those are the types of conversations.
Yeah. We're seeing a ton of kind of Ton native deals come through, and people building on other chains and trying to figure out their Telegram Ton strategy. So like, it's very much top of mind for builders. And so I saw this chart, like so that TVL went from like basically nothing, still, very low from a chain perspective, but it's going parabolic. So you can see the impact that narrative is having on, people bridging over and trying to see what's going on there. Funny looking at, like, if you scroll down to like the top protocols, like there's still just nothing to do. Like,
I think the issue I see here is that people are interested in it. They're not interested in Ton. They're interested in Telegram,
which I think, yeah, exactly.
And so, so the interest really is like, holy shit, Telegram is a onboarding machine. Like by building Telegram native apps, which I'm sure many of you have used already, but Hamster Combat, Notcoin, whatever 17 other button clicking things that I can go do on my phone at any time for zero value, or I do still somehow for some reason. It's really about the viral loops that they can build, and you have a couple 100 million users. Easy piece of cake. I think like what is interesting is how little is actually being built on Telegram itself, and there's all the pieces there, right? Because Telegram has a really easy to use wallet that you can use. There's but we haven't seen that sort of like killer use case within Telegram itself or Ton itself to really kick off. And it's curious to me. I mean, even the teams that are building the types of things that I think would be very natural to go build on Ton are not building them on Ton. They're building them on Telegram, and then having like a very sort of a worldview where they would hope to integrate with multiple chains, including Ton. But
yeah, I still think. I think the tool, like developer tooling that exists, is still very nascent. There's questions about the reliability of the chain, liquidity, like TVL is still super low. Most people that like builders are targeting haven't actually bridged over there. So I think the right strategy for builders is like absolutely go experiment with and figure out how to tap into the like distribution and viral loops of Telegram. But likely it still makes sense for you to live on Base or Solana, and just think about that as kind of top of funnel onboarding. How do you pull people into some kind of native own experience where that's built on top of things elsewhere? But I think go ahead.
I think there's an opportunity to take anything that is kind of working Web 2 or Web 3 and ask the question, what does this look like as a Telegram app where you're purely focused on distribution and engagement? And, I think there's like a number of teams that are and opportunities out there that we've sort of looked at or worked on, including a lot of things that we're thinking about at Seed Club that maybe couldn't be fully delivered as a Telegram app, but might make sense to go do it there.
Totally,
purely from a distribution standpoint,
or even just like as a step to like let's say you're a desktop product, have mobile ambitions, aren't exactly sure what that should look like. Starting with a Telegram app or like Telegram, or a bot is like a pretty interesting way to just like mess around with mechanics. I think also probably like an under cap distribution channel is just building Telegram channels that distribute like news or your like unique type of content. Like I'm following a bunch that don't seem to put a ton of effort in, but just because of how easy it is to like share and subscribe, they have like 30,000 subscribers pretty quickly. Who knows what like actual viewer or reader numbers are, but I think that's kind of another interesting way to just kind of tap into that distribution. But yeah, I like this post by Adam who's building Friend Pet, but just like really highlighting the idea that these like click to earn products in Telegram are like in no way crypto products really. Like the crypto is kind of the carrot at the end of the stick, and by having that carrot at the end of the stick, they're kind of able to like market to crypto users. But it's all like the entire experience is just like tapping buttons in Telegram.
Yeah, there's like a global category of people who are just like, let me go earn infinitesimal amounts of crypto.
Yeah.
Like I'm down to just go fuck around and earn tiny amounts of crypto. And that's a big chunk of the people who are here right now. I mean, the thing I often think about here is like how it's like how important reach and distribution and sort of scale is in many of these go-to-market plans, and also how important it is to be able to identify a difference between an absolute quality user for whom you're building for versus like users as distribution. So I think that ability is kind of key to this. Otherwise, you kind of run down a wrong path. But at least Snow doesn't like the word infinitesimal. You're just
I love it. I think I'm so wiped out. I'm like hungover from yesterday that like hearing it, I had to Google it. I was like, is this a real word? Like this
hangover.
Is it really big or small? Like it's an amazing it's an very small term. It's very small.
Infinitesimal. Small. Yeah. Well, words come out. Listen, man, I say words that don't even mean anything often, so I'm glad you checked it. I just say whatever comes to my mind. So, okay, let's lightning around this because I feel like I feel like we're going to bring up Telegram a bunch in the next little while,
for sure.
And if you're seeing interesting things out there, we want to click around. There's something about go to market here that I think is just an absolute superpower within Telegram. It's worth diving deep on.
Okay, here's one. This one blew my mind. Let's see what you think.
Oh yeah,
a year ago.
Let's go.
Yeah, that was a year ago.
Where were we? I feel like we were somewhere together when that came out.
We might have been, but I guess it's really just a statement on the insane way that time moves. And I have no idea if this was 10 years ago or last month, but
I have like a clear memory of just there being nothing going on and in crypto when this came out, and just like clicking it and it making noise, being like like a nice like relief from like the quietness of what was out there.
Well, this was wonderful because it was sort of on the backdrop of art blocks, kind of
right.
The sort of blue chip digital art or NFT art, and then like doing this in a generative way is actually not super easy. And so he came out with this in a time where it was sort of both a poke at what art blocks was and the sort of like the high prices around there, and also at a very dead time in the market. So I don't know if I bought any of these, but I like them.
I think that we had like there was a bit of a period there where like art was really it was kind of the thing. Like it was the narrative. AI art was just kind of coming out, the like post photography stuff, brain drops was popping off. People were like going crazy trying to, I think if you like owned the first 3 sets, you got early access, and that was kind of like the big speculative game to be playing at the time. And I remember, and then this came out and it was like, oh yeah.
It's funny. I just opened up Twitter to see what's going on, and 0x Def Beef, who's a big generative artist in and around this time, has just posted this link here because let's put it in the chat. This guy is a gem of a human being, and is just now playing a banjo naked in his workshop.
Canadian, right?
Not Canadian. No, not Canadian.
No?
No. Rural life, lives in the countryside, dope human being, likes to make metal stuff and cool internet stuff. So,
are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. What a guy.
Here we go. In response to payphone prop 26, show up naked all over the place. So he's got a payphone sort of art piece that he's doing right now.
Awesome. Okay, here
what else we got? You making me reach it, piece?
I'm sorry. Okay, you're right. It's like how are we gonna do a lightning?
Talk to us about it.
Honestly, I just saw LSTs, and maybe the real response is well, now I'm not going to find it, but someone was like, why do you need LSTs to do this or something? I don't know.
Yeah, cool. I don't know.
You're not compelled by a better friend tag? I mean, what a category.
So it is the idea is that you're buying their yield in some way?
I have no idea.
Oh, fuck. What am I going to do with this then piece? How am I going to react if you don't even know what the hell's going on here?
Well, Nicholas, let it be known. Nicholas just messaged me. He said, yes, he's Canadian. So fuck you.
Is he Canadian?
Yeah.
Yo.
You guys have some gems. Yeah, you have some gems.
He doesn't live in Canada, I don't think.
Okay.
Wow. Oh, he may not live here, but
we have
okay, fine.
More reading.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Nick on his thread game. Authenticity wins. The intersection of purists and tourists is key for apps. Focus on what you like. Don't chase shiny objects. Define risk reward and take a long-term view. User alignment is essential.
I like this. I like the purist tourist.
I mean, this is the conversation that we have very, very regularly. Because I think like you need the to be ideologically driven, to get through the bullshit, and you need to be pragmatic enough to make decisions that actually build towards usefulness. And if you're on either edge, it can be very hard to navigate. And I think that's probably been one of the most stark lessons that we've learned over the last couple of years of doing what we're doing. Is, you know, and I think we've navigated it pretty well, but, you know, ultimately being able to identify what that mix is. So,
yeah. Oh, this is great.
This is a classic. I'm sorry we don't have sound hooked in here.
But go to the top, go to the caption.
Yeah.
Your chat, log it into pump.fun.
It's accurate. And someone was mentioning, they're like, why have we not just like, how has no one made a casino UI on Uniswap yet?
I think I actually saw, who was it? Oh, I think it was Chris Martz. He was like,
that it was Chris who said that. That was
he said, or maybe he said that too, but I think he also said he was going to build like a physical, like pump.fun slot machine. And I was like,
that's what it was. That's what his reply was. Yeah.
Like, that is sick.
Just put pump.fun into a slot machine and get a whole bunch of grannies to go and do it.
That would be crazy.
Those guys.
I don't even know.
Elon, you got to go do it, man. Yeah. Maybe not quite the brand association they're looking for, given what's going on there, but
I think it might be.
Maybe that's something we should do.
Yeah, that'd be a really fun drop. Just get that into like
Vegas,
billions in Vegas.
I love it.
I don't want to do this right now.
Ask me.
Chris is great. I like it. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's put that on the calendar for 2 months from now and see if we can get Chris.
This could be a fun one. That could be a fun one.
Nice. Well,
cool.
We're there.
We're there. Thank you all for hanging out with us today. It was a fun little adventure down. I don't even know what we talked about, but we said some words, so that was fun. As you can tell, we're thriving after the last 2 weeks leading up to demo day, which you did a great job on, Josh, and just leaning in with our team. So thank you for that. Thank you to everybody who hung out with us yesterday and for continuing to tune in. I love looking over at this live on X box and seeing a couple hundred people hanging out with us here. I was stoked when there was 10 people that would show up right there. Like, you guys are beasts. So this is great. We're back here next Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, with another weekly roundup on the consumer crypto space and other related bullshit. Go mint this intro from Peace. It'll be up on our Twitter and Warpcast very soon. It's unhinged. You're gonna want that.
Put it on your just put it on your TVs. Like this as just like a background to like a dinner party would be electric.
Nice.
Slightly distracting, but I like it. Yeah. Interesting dinner party. What are you eating? What type of food are you eating when this is being played? Like, what's the appropriate food pairing to this NFT?
Olive ice cream.
Okay. Is that sweet?
It's sweet, yeah. Well, I used to do this. I used to do like vermouth and ice cream, but then I saw someone made an olive ice cream, which sounds amazing. I haven't had it yet, but it's got to be good.
So it's actually really good corn ice cream. Had that
gotta be good.
Yeah, it's good.
Neither of these things are really good, guys. It's just better than you expect.
I actually don't like it. I'm not huge on ice cream. Ice cream is very, very low on my like dessert.
That's an astonishing statement.
Yeah,
absolutely astonishing. The ice cream it's
very low. There's a lot of things I'd rather eat.
Like what?
Dessert wise. He's a flan guy.
Sorry, serious. No, just like cookies.
Cookies.
Cookies ahead of ice cream. Way ahead.
What's okay? Give me your top three then. What's your top three?
Cookies, cake.
Cookies are number one in your dessert.
I love cookies.
Bro,
I love cookies. Maybe if I had more time to like really think about this, I could come up with a better answer, but cookies are firmly ahead of ice cream. I like ice cream cookies.
But don't you think
I think I like just cookies better though.
Yeah. But like ice cream makes every other dessert better. Pie?
Like if I have pie, yeah, better.
Pie
and ice cream.
Pie is a category over cookies.
Pie over cookies?
Yeah.
Clearly.
Cookies is its own category for sure.
Do you know what I really like? Nanaimo bars.
Bro.
All right.
That is.
I'm gonna play us out.
That is such so. Nanaimo is like, I can see Nanaimo from my house. Basically, it's right over here where those bars were invented, and I'd think that they are the worst dessert to be associated with my chicken under feet. Too sweet. Just
next week when I show
not
up,
good mouthfeel.
I'm bringing you a fat platter.
Well, you should eat them yourselves, and I'll have my bucket of ice cream.
Perfect.
Okay, get us out of here. I'm learning too much.